Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a smitten couple in love that loves reacting to some Smite.
Nice word choice there.
Thanks. I thought it was pretty good. And so, we're doing a character draft, and we checked out some Smite cinematic trailers. And so now we're going to look into the God Reveal trailers, which showcases some gameplay. And also we were told to check out a channel called Never Cakes. I guess which gives some lore, like a little quick funny lore info. Into each of the characters. They're like a minute each or whatever. So we're gonna add that into this one, see if it works. Still playing with this format, but we're doing the different sort of pantheon since there's so many characters and in Smite. We're gonna have to do this. It's gonna take a while to get through all of our character drafts, but it's gonna be an ongoing thing. If you're unfamiliar how we do character drafts, Bethany's gonna explain it.
To the side of each of us, we have our Monopoly dollars.
These are like our claim tickets.
Exactly. So when we're watching something, as soon as one of us decides that we want that, we pay the piper, so to speak, and we grab our character. Now, it's whoever gets there first.
Yep. After each video, we like to see who picked the best team. This one actually has 5, so someone's going to get 3 and someone's going to get 2, and but that's just the way it goes. And we'll keep going on, and this is going to be a long character draft, and we'll put our full teams in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and check that out, as well as a playlist for all of our Smite reactions. So, yeah. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready to kick your ass.
Oh, well done.
Oh, you know how he was a sailor boy? She said, "See you later, boy." Well, that's where Cernunnos comes in, the horned god.
Cernunnos.
You see, sometimes people get hungry, and since back in the old days they didn't have Arby's, people had to go out in the forest or something. "Dinner served, y'all," the trees would yell, and you could walk in and eat some grass or murder an animal and put it in your mouth. However, don't do too much murder because you're being watched by the secret goat dad of the forest, Cernunnos. And you don't want to mess with him. He was around when Wheel of Fortune was created, and if he decides to give spring and summer a miss and go straight on into autumn, well, then that'd just be silly, wouldn't it? Look, Cernunnos is the master of nature, so it's probably safer if you just don't go outside. I'm sure that's no issue. If you do go out, pretend you aren't arrogant and greedy. Otherwise, you may suffer a fate worse than death. Being forced to watch mediocre television.
Welcome to the Smite God Reveal for Cernunnos, the Horned God.
Ranged physical role hunter.
Standing upon the edge of the wooded realm of Cernunnos, one can feel the invitation and the threat. Come and feast, it calls. Nature provides an abundance of crops and wild game, yet the same voice turns dark. Treat everything with due respect, it warns. This is not your home. Through the shadow branches, a figure can be seen, horned as a stag, clothed in moss and leaves, eyes burning like untended embers. Cernunnos is master here. Time turns on the sacred wheel. Spring, summer, autumn, and at last winter. Cernunnos was there at the shaping of the wheel, yet it is not of his making. He is both master of it and slave to it, transforming with the seasons like the world beneath his feet. He bears a heavy metal torque around his neck as a permanent pledge of loyalty to this cycle of life and death that only he can drive. Once, it was said, there was no break between his realm and this world. Perhaps the time will come when the world shall once again be his. Then all can walk among the whispering leaves, so long as they remain humble. For the arrogant, Cernunnos hunts. What are these other gods? Guest or prey?
Okay.
His passive is Heavy Glaive. Cernunnos wields a glaive as a weapon. His basic attacks deal additional damage to all enemies in melee range.
Nice. It's got some range attacks.
He is throwing it. His first ability is Shifter of Seasons. Cernunnos imbues his glaive with the power of the 4 seasons. Activating this ability rotates him through 4 different bonuses to his basic attacks. Spring Growth provides your basic attacks with bonus lifesteal. Summer Heat provides your basic attacks with bonus damage. Autumn Decay provides your basic attacks with physical protection shred. Winter Chill provides your basic attacks with a short duration slow. This ability does not consume energy and does not have a cooldown.
I finally had enough of you hitting me.
His
I
second
couldn't
ability
get you.
is Bramble Blast. Cernunnos fires a thorn forward in a line that deals damage and roots a single enemy it hits. When it hits an enemy, a wall, or reaches max range, it explodes, dealing damage and spawning an area of thorns at the location. This
That's
area
pretty cool.
deals damage
Yeah.
and slows enemies inside it, and persists for a short duration. His third ability is Horn Charge.
Oh,
It
yeah.
charges forward, damaging and crashing through all types of enemies.
Right, the horn charge got me.
His
I'm gonna take
ultimate
Cernunnos.
is the Wild Hunt. Cernunnos selects an area where the Wild Hunt will begin. After a short casting time, enemies in the area will be damaged and polymorphed into
Did he turn them into
wild boars.
pigs?
Polymorphed targets
Yeah.
are
Or boars?
silenced and disarmed.
Yep.
Alright, so you know how you won't like me when I'm angry? Well, that's where Chulainn comes in, the Hound of Ulster. You see, Chulainn was legend, just like Will Smith in that movie. He was a warrior, and I'm not talking about Coney Island. I mean, this guy could hold off an entire army by himself. Even
damn.
in his early years, Chulainn was so radical that a king invited him to a feast hosted by his smith. The boy went, but uh-oh, the smith had forgotten to chain up his guard dog, and it attacked. But Macaulay Culkin just like
Macaulay
and he
Culkin.
was so ashamed of his immense greatness that he swore to train a new guard dog. And in the meantime,
Any dog that's less
he
dead, is that
would
what it
be
said?
the dog.
He killed the
So
dog.
it was
Oh.
that he became a hero, the Hound of Cullen. And it was pretty sweet, but also really sad, you guys, because his legendary status came in a bundle pack with dying young, just as foretold by Kesha.
What?
Welcome to the Smite God reveal for Chulainn, Hound of Ulster.
Whoa. Check out Mr. Hyde.
Third born child of gods and kings, Chulainn is legend brought to life. He was a powerful warrior who alone held an army at bay, a man of will and courage who resisted both the
Take him,
allure
take him.
and wrath of the Morrigan, a figure of tragic prophecy. Chulainn was destined for greatness,
Took a
but
whole
also
army
a
out.
certain end. In his early years, while still bearing the name Setanta, he captured the attention of King Connor with feats of strength and
He's just like
agility,
Shaggy.
and was invited to a feast hosted by the smith Cullen. Unbeknownst to Cullen, his fearsome guard dog escaped his chains and assailed Setanta upon his arrival. With only his bare hands, Setanta slayed the beast. Ashamed of his actions, he swore to Cullen to train him, a beast of equal ferocity. Impressed, the druid
You can't take someone that killed a
bestowed
dog.
Setanta the name Chulainn, the Hound of Cullen. This was the birth of a hero whose death was yet bound by prophecy. However, his fate would soon be set, as the druid Cuthbert promised. Any that take up arms this day will become legends. Desperate for greatness, Chulainn raised whatever weapons he could find and saw years of
He's so
victory
happy.
lay before him, unaware that with the promise of becoming a legend came the certainty of an early grave.
Oh.
Chulainn's passive is Berserk. Chulainn's mana bar functions differently than
Yeah,
other gods.
I want a Berserk guy on my
Chulainn's
team.
mana is capped at 100 and will only regenerate up to 25 mana with him just idling. Hitting enemies with abilities and basic attacks, or when he or nearby allies
attacking?
take damage, causes Chulainn to gain mana above the 25 mark. After being above 85 mana for 3 seconds, he goes Berserk. During Berserk,
Yeah!
Chulainn
Yes,
gains
check out Mr. Hyde!
maximum health, and his abilities change. Once Chulainn goes Berserk, he will drain
He's
most
fucking
of his
badass.
health and will need to accumulate mana before he can Berserk again. Chulainn's first ability is Barbed Spear. It's
kind of a showboat, too. Definitely on my team.
Damaging both gods and minions in front of him, stunning minions, but not gods. Successfully hitting an enemy with this ability restores mana. Hitting multiple enemies restores additional mana. Barbs from his spear stick in opponents and reduce their healing for a short duration. In Berserk form, this ability transforms into Ground Slam. Chulainn instead slams his massive arms down, damaging and rooting all enemies in front of him.
Jax with the Smash.
Anger is Cuchulain's second ability. Chulainn vents his anger as superheated steam, increasing his movement speed. This uses some of his mana. Enemies near Chulainn will take damage from this steam. In Berserk form, Chulainn has Vent Anger active all the time, dealing damage to nearby enemies. While in Berserk form, this
Oh, that's awesome,
ability
just
does not
standing there.
use or drain
Gets
mana.
people.
Chulain's third ability is Sandal's
Good area of
Cleaver.
effect one.
Chulainn vaults over his spear, leaping to a target location and slamming it down to damage enemies around and in front of him.
Yeah.
Successfully hitting an enemy with this ability restores mana. Hitting multiple enemies restores additional mana. In Berserk form, this ability transforms into Furious Charge. Chulainn charges forward, damaging and driving all enemies back with him. Chulainn swings his spear in a circle around him.
I think this guy had more ones than,
Successfully
the other guy
hitting
had.
an enemy with
Cernunnos.
this ability
Cernunnos.
restores a large amount of mana. In
Well,
his
'cause he's
Berserk
got his form
this
plus his
ability
Berserk
transforms
yeah,
into
true.
War Cry. Chulainn gives a terrifying yell,
That's why he's
damaging
awesome.
all enemies and causing them to tremble.
Alright, so you know how the wheel of fate is turning? Well, that's where the Morrigan comes in. Phantom Queen. You see, the Morrigan is one spooky somebody, except she's actually many spooky somebodies with various names and forms.
This is my
such as
platform.
Seductress, Hag, and Screaming Crow. She controls
take her.
fate itself, and does so under one title, the Morrigan, which means like Phantom Queen, so she's a phantom. You see, long ago there were 3 sisters who were responsible for sovereignty, war, and death. They took care of old school Ireland and were champions for soldiers and tour guides for the dead. Their bond was strong. Then some mumbo-jumbo gypsy magic went down, I don't know, but they became the Morrigan. Not to be confused with Morrigan from Darkstalkers, or Morgan Le Fay, or Morgana, or Morgan Freeman. Look,
Morgan
it's all
Freeman.
complicated and confusing, but basically it boils down to this. If you had the chance to change your fate, would you?
Welcome to the Smite God reveal for the Morrigan.
Does look cool.
Phantom Queen.
I probably would have grabbed her right there if you didn't grab her before.
Fate is an unusual thing. An unseen force predicting every action of every being. Many deities can see it, recognize the flow of the plan. However, there is only one that claims mastery over it. She has many goddesses, with many names and forms, but there is only one title, the Morrigan.
Plus she reminds me of
Long ago,
Morrigan
there were
from
3 sisters,
Dragon Age.
Anu, Maka, and Bav, who were the progenitors of sovereignty, war, and death. They were caretakers of their lush green air, champions for soldiers, and guides for the deceased. The strength of their bond was unknown. Whether it was brought on by a curse or a more sinister reason, they were inseparable, and eventually they became the Morrigan. Now, she takes on many shapes. The lurid seductress, the wrinkled hag, the screaming crow. Amidst these facades, she takes the worst one of all, the washer in the river. Subtle and manipulative, there is no war the Morrigan did not incite. No dying breath she did not collect. Even this war, a war between gods, must secretly be of her making. So beware those that behold her, for the Morrigan controls your fate.
Damn.
Morrigan's passive is Doomsayer. The third hit of the Morrigan's hit chain will explode, dealing damage to all enemies within range and dooming all enemies.
Oh, nice. It's like a little
Doomed
bomb she
enemies
plants.
will take additional damage over time. Morrigan's first ability is Deadly Aspects.
Nice.
The Morrigan summons
Yeah.
her alternate forms to her side.
That's pretty
When
cool.
activated again, they focus their power together to damage and stun enemies in front of them. Morrigan's second ability is Dark Omen. Morrigan launches a wave of dark magic at her enemies, dealing damage and applying
Timer?
an omen to them for a short time.
Okay.
Enemies with an omen will take bonus damage the next time they are hit by any allied ability.
Ooh.
Morrigan's third ability is Confusion. The Morrigan
Stealth.
creates a
You don't do
phantom
stealth.
of herself while becoming stealthed and gaining increased movement speed. The phantom runs
sweet.
to the target area, deals no damage, and will die if it takes any damage. Morrigan loses any bonuses from this ability if she takes damage. Morrigan's ultimate is Changeling. The Morrigan selects a god from the current match and becomes a copy of them.
That's awesome!
Has all
That's
their
fantastic.
current stats,
Oh.
items, and may use all of their abilities for the duration.
I wish we had a jump on this
Contains
round.
her own relics and cannot use consumables.
'Cause you just jumped my
Additionally, the rank of
I
her
would for her.
abilities will
Not gonna lie.
transfer to the skills of the god she copies. This ability's cooldown will increase if the targeted god's ultimate is used and has a longer cooldown than the Morrigan's base cooldown.
Alright,
Alright,
so
I'm jealous of that one.
this series
Not
is
gonna lie.
a barrel of laughs. Well, that's where Artio comes in, the bear goddess. You see, Artio sleeps more than a depressed man on vacation. Because of animation, a thing
Bear facts.
Well, when it gets warmer and the ice-capped mountains cry, spring arrives and awakens Bear Grill. She is guardian of the cycle, which means she's really into balance, so I don't know what she's doing in Smite. We have fun here. No, but really, balance. There is no spring without winter, no death without life, no pros without noobs. Even Artio herself balances two forms, woman and bear. And her divinity is so respected, her shrine is the stars themselves, as the constellation Ursa Major. The end. This video
Yeah, I'm gonna
is
take her.
partly over.
Knew it.
She's a bear goddess. Of course I'm gonna take her.
Welcome to the Smite God reveal for Artio, the bear
Yeah.
goddess.
She's awesome.
As ice from the distant mountain peak melts, producing cascading waterfalls that fall down to the trees and fauna of the underbrush, spring awakens Artio, the goddess bear, from her deep hibernation. She is guardian of the cycle, not the passage of time, but the balance of things. There is no spring without winter, no death without life, no darkness without light. Coat wet with fresh rain, Artio roars into the chill morning air. Amidst her Ursine brethren, she takes two forms, that of a woman, lithe and wild, and that of a bear, powerful and fierce.
Wild.
Despite her formidable divinity, no shrine stands in her name, only respect. For she
That's cool.
looms overhead, a constant presence in the twinkle of stars, a connection of glistening light. She is the constellation Ursa Major.
She doesn't need a shrine.
However, Artio must descend from her celestial realm, for war looms, and peace cannot exist without war. Victory without defeat, or glory without failure. She is tasked with enforcing the cycle of things. Artio's ultimate is Shapeshift.
Oh!
You can shapeshift between
You got all the shapeshifters on your team.
stance, gaining
Yes, I
access to different abilities. Every time Artio hits at least one enemy with her abilities, she gains one stack of invigoration. These stacks increase
Get him,
her
get him,
movement
bear.
speed and mana regeneration. Artio's passive is Decompose. Whenever Artio hits an enemy with any of her damaging abilities, she causes the enemy's armor to decompose. This reduces their physical and magical protections. Artio's first druid ability is Energy Surge. After a short delay, Artio pulses out a strong wave of energy
almost should have,
enemies in a cone in front of her. Enemy gods
Right,
hit
like
by this
Dr. Jekyll and
move
Mr. High
will
Guy,
have
'cause he
their life
changes
force
too.
ripped out and shared among Artio and her allies. When in bear form, this ability becomes Maul Prey. Artio will lash out with her claws, damaging enemies twice. Artio's second druid ability is Entangling Vines. Artio creates a field of earthly energy around herself that cripples enemies inside the area and decreases their magical or physical power. When in bear form, this ability becomes Ferocious Roar. Artio lets out a terrifying roar, stunning nearby enemies and boosting her own physical and magical protections. Artio's third druid ability is Light Tap. Artio slowly saps the life away from all targets in a line in front of her. She channels this ability for a short time, and each hit heals herself, damages enemies, and applies a stacking slow. Targets hit by all ticks of this ability become rooted. When in bear form, this ability becomes Heavy Charge. Artio charges forward at an increased movement speed. Enemies she charges through take damage and are slowed. Gods and goddesses, welcome to the Smite God reveal for Cliodhna, Queen of the Banshees.
Cliodhna?
I don't know if I'm taking her.
I should have just jumped on it.
I mean, Queen of the Banshees? Come on, she's gonna be awesome.
Queen of the Banshees, emerges. It is said that her song can heal the sick and end suffering. Whatever the truth of such tales, Cliodhna is also known as a herald of ruin and death. Her spectral form and eerie voice bring despair to those around her, haunting places where much blood has been shed. Now she walks the world once more, or bring it to its inevitable conclusion.
Oh!
Hurts pretty bad, doesn't it?
It does.
Phantasma. Cliodhna is able to enter into walls, gaining sight of all
Oh,
that surrounds her.
sweet.
While inside a wall, she can use her first, third, and ultimate abilities with augmented effects. Cliodhna can only remain inside the wall for a limited time as she loses health the longer she remains. Cliodhna's first ability is Banshee's Wail. Cliodhna unleashes a wail that damages in 3 parts. The final part hits the hardest, applies a silence, and applies a new CC. Deafen. Enemies hit by Deafen lose the ability to hear for a brief window. When used inside a wall, a spectral face will attack in her stead, damaging in a wider cone. Cliodhna's second ability is Flickering Visions. Cliodhna fires a flickering bolt that causes any enemy hit to lose the ability to perceive Cliodhna's existence. If Cliodhna is damaged or takes an action, she is revealed to the target for a brief instant. While a target is affected by flickering visions, Cliodhna gains movement speed. Cliodhna's third ability is...
It'd be cool, like, horror story to have about Cliodhna. I'm sure there probably is, but, like,
Yeah.
just the intro to this one was so interesting.
For sure.
Range, she will unleash a devastating claw attack in the direction she is facing. When used inside a wall, Cliodhna will dash from the wall itself and travel a bit further. Cliodhna's ultimate ability is Tearing the Veil. Cliodhna tears at the fabric between life and death and unleashes her banshees on a planet heavily if they are in the
God damn, she should be on my team.
and dealing smaller damage afterward. This ultimate has a lower than normal cooldown and has 2 charges. When used inside a wall, Cliodhna only weakens the veil, leaving it not fully open and invisible to enemies. When they approach, it will activate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason there wasn't a Never Cakes one for Cliodhna is because she's a newer character, so I don't think there's one out there. At least as the time that we're recording this, there's not one out there for her. She was so cool. Like, and I almost like grabbed her right away. You were like just a fraction of a second ahead of me on grabbing it. If this was like Ruthless, I would have like elbowed you out of the way and like and grabbed it. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm all right. It doesn't always happen that she grabs all the females and I grab all the males, but it just happened so much this time.
It did. And all the females are freaking badass.
Yes, they are. They're very cool. I'm not very familiar with the Celtic gods, so really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed learning more about them. And also, we don't play the game Smite. We don't usually do multiplayer games, just like online games. But it is interesting, like checking out their different abilities because still play video games and still am familiar with like that format. So it was still cool, like seeing their different abilities. I think Cliodhna is my favorite.
You had to have known I was going to go for it the second. It was like a spooky haunted thing, and also Queen of the Banshees. So obviously I was going to take her.
She was my favorite. Although I'm happy with my team. You can check the description of this video since we're gonna do each sort of pantheon of gods. We'll be we'll be continuing to build upon this, but.
Absolutely.
So is that your favorite one?
I mean, I like all of them for different reasons. Artio actually might be my favorite.
Yeah, the bear goddess. Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty cool.
I thought that might be one that was your favorite.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what do you think about the Celtic gods?
I enjoyed it. Likewise, I too don't know a lot about the Celtic gods. I'm more familiar with Greek mythology from school, and then I did also, because I'm a super dork, study like Egyptian mythology, so I'm a little more familiar with some of those.
So I thought this would be a good one to go with as first. Like we're gonna go with ones that we know a little bit less about, more and more, and so we'll try to check out the different pantheons as we go on. So let us know your thoughts about this. Not only the videos that we saw and like who your favorite character was out of this Celtic god pantheon, but also if you like this format, as far as like seeing a Nevercakes video and then going into the we cut off some of these videos a little bit as far as the god reveals go, because they start to go into like to the combat tactics and they start to get into a little bit more about the actual game, and they get into the things that are like a little bit more specific as far as like the gameplay goes. And since we're not familiar with the gameplay, like getting the lore and getting the cool abilities is kind of like is going to help us draft our teams, as it were. But then anything beyond that, it just felt like it would be like kind of like over our head too much. So.
And thank you for suggesting the Nevercakes, because it added a nice level of humor, and they were pretty funny.
Right? Yeah. I'm glad that that was suggested, and I think I enjoyed it. So
yeah,
we'll see. Let us know what you thought about that, though. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for this Smite God Revealed draft for the Celtic gods, which keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.